Enchanté.
What is happening, guys? I hope everything is well. Today we are talking about the change from the Ironman World Championship from the famous big island of Hawaii to possibly IRONMAN Nice. We're going to cover the location changes, the pros and cons, the course preview of both of them, climate changes between France and Hawaii, and if the courses suit a certain athlete. Alright, let's not waste any time and get right into it. Just for anybody who hasn't seen it yet, the Ironman World Championship has been since the 80s on the big island of Hawaii. Now it has been changed, it has been revealed that it's not going to be for the men in 2023 on the big island of Hawaii. They're going to introduce a new system that the women and men will alternate. So 2023, the female pros and age groupers will be on the big island for one day, and the male age groupers and pros will be somewhere else, most likely, as rumors say, IRONMAN Nice in France. Then the next year, 2024, the male athletes will be back to the big island and the female athletes will be somewhere else, possibly Nice. Maybe they're rotating the locations. It's not 100% confirmed yet. So for the reasons why they moved the race, most likely it's going to be that the big island of Hawaii, especially the mayor, did not want it, that it's 2 days there. The local authorities as well, I think they have been overwhelmed with 2-day event that has been now going on in 2022, because it's been 2 days. That means double the amount of athletes and support athletes. The local hotels couldn't really cover it. It was too full for the big island. And when you think about it, for the residents moved to the big island, an island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, Americans, from the mainland to middle of nowhere. And if you do that, you want your peace. So if you have then a couple of ripped triathletes running around with colorful shoes and doing lactate tests on Ali Drive all the time, I think that's not going to help the locals to really fall in love with the sport. Yeah, I think it was just a little bit much for the big island, but that's it. Then the question is, why did they not move it to St. George? It has been there in 2021 already, St. George, Utah. I think the reason for that is probably because, at least from Europe, I don't think there wasn't too much excitement for that. I think they gave a lot of slots away and even made it further roll down, and to our gold athletes and silver, they just sent it out the slot. I think they didn't sell out in St. George, although the community is behind it. And now they want to move it to Nice, which is a great option. There's a lot of tradition in Nice, for people that don't know. For over 20 years, it's a massive triathlon community. The city of Nice, that's very important. They want that event there. It's massive for them, it's really good. And they can cover a lot of athletes. So I've been there in 2019 to cheer the athletes on, and I think they had over 3,000 athletes there. So that's one criteria for Ironman. Can they host a lot of athletes? Is the community behind it? How is it to reach? Is it a good event to sell? Because if you look at France, it's beautiful there. It's really that time of the year, especially September. It's a really beautiful event, but we'll get to the climate later. Then realistically as well, Kona has become less than a physical ability thing to go to Kona. It's more about your wallet by now. To be honest, you do need a 6-figure income, at least from Europe to go there. One trip used to be 2016 already around 10,000 euros, which is a lot of cash for a 2.5 week holiday. But by now, especially with a 2-day event, you have to calculate at least $15,000, euros. Okay, but it's a lot of cash for a 2.5 week period for one person. You're not going to fly there alone, most likely, so 2 people have to take the holiday, pay the cash, and no matter how good you are, if you're a student, it's going to be difficult for you to fly to the big island. Flying in from the US is obviously a little bit cheaper, but I think the stay on the big island is extremely pricey still. That's the same for us Europeans as it is for the Americans. I'm sure that even for the Americans, even if you live in LA and San Francisco, it's still a fairly expensive trip. When I first heard the news about Hawaii, I was obviously a little bit disappointed, a little bit sad, because yeah, I have a lot of emotions for the big island of Hawaii. I love that place. I've been there twice, and it's just such a magical event. I'm sure, like any other triathlete who has been there or seen videos, it just draws you there. But we have to remember there might be a lot of positives to that as well. We have to remember Kona is not gone, it's not off the radar, right? It's just every 2 years. And there could be a lot of opportunities as well for having new locations and world championships there. So it could be really exciting to have something new and fresh and then still go back to Kona every second year. Before we compare the two different courses from Ironman Nice and Ironman Kona, let's have first a look at the different climates. So let's have a quick look at the climate in France, in Nice, in September from last year. So we can have a little bit of a look comparison, because the Ironman World Champs will be for the guys at 10th of September in Nice. So Nice has an average temperature of 22 degrees Celsius in September with a 65% relative humidity. Wind will be an average around 15.2 kilometers per hour, and the sunset is at 8 p.m. at Nice local time. That is important because of the daylight finisher thing. In Kona compared to Nice, you have 26 Celsius average temperature high with 81% relative humidity, so almost 20% more humidity. You have an average sunset time of 6 p.m. So in Nice, you will have 2 hours of more daylight. For all the daylight finishers, you have to normally be in Kona around 10 hours. You have a lot more time, you have around 12 hours, I would say, in Nice to finish in daylight before it gets dark. Then the average wind in Kona is 16.7 kilometers per hour in October, so there's a little bit less wind in Nice. Obviously those are only averages, but they don't matter as much as when we come to the course. We talk about that now. Alright, let's have a look at the two courses, first in Nice, France, and then in Kona. Compare the two and see what we make out of that. Let's start with France. Let's start with the swim in the Atlantic. So it is a saltwater swim, which gives obviously buoyancy as well. You start from the beach, you run in, but of course there can be current as well, which is a bit different. It is a bay like Kona, so that could affect the overall swim a little bit. The average temperature is 22 degrees Celsius of the water in September in Nice, so it can be a wetsuit or non-wetsuit. For pros, that's obviously important, as it is for age groupers. But when you compare that to Kona, where you always have a non-wetsuit swim, obviously, that can affect the race for sure. Then let's look at the bike courses. So let's start off with Nice again, France. The bike course has 2,500 height meters of elevation gain. You have two major climbs, first at 40 kilometers and then at 112 kilometers. And actually Nice has the steepest 0.5, 1 kilometer, 5 kilometer and 10 kilometer segments of any Ironman on Earth. Then when you compare that to the Kona bike course, you have 1,400 height meters, so 1,100 height meters less than Nice, France, and the steepest 0.5 kilometer is only 6% compared to 9% incline in Nice. Then when we look at the two run courses, obviously Kona is a rolling one, has 350 height meters, rolling, challenging course on the legs, especially after a tough ride. When you compare that to Nice, it's a flat run course. I've seen it, I cheered on the 2019 World Champs. It is a flat run course, only 29 height meters, back and forth. I would say mentally still pretty challenging, boring you could say even, but the atmosphere is going to be fantastic, so it's going to be a flat, fast course. Yeah, so obviously two very different courses, especially the bike part, which is the majority of an Ironman. It's a lot of time in the legs. But all that climbing, the easiest thing would be to say, okay, all the 60 kilo guys who are good cyclists, that's important, because if you're not a good cyclist and you weigh 60 kilos, the physics are not going to matter so much. But if you are a 60 kilo-ish guy and you are a very strong cyclist, you are going to have an edge on the guys that are going to be 80 kilos, 85 kilos maybe even, and that are going to go up the climb. But don't forget, that's a new challenge with this course, which is great. The uphill matters, but the downhill matters just as much. If you're practicing turns on cones in your backyard, then I think you're going to have a problem there, because it's going to be a technically bike course where, to be honest, if you're going to be a bit like Tour de France style, you have to play a little bit with your life there, because you're going to be going those downhills, which you have to practice at least 2, 3, 4 weeks ahead. You have to know them like Formula 1, eyes closed, otherwise I think you have no shot, because if you go down those hills, not 100 kilometer blasting or 80 or whatever, depending on the sections, into the corners, if you don't do that, don't have the skill to do that, you're gonna bleed 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 minutes, which has nothing to do with fitness, just ability, technical ability to ride your bike. You can't compare this one, Nice, as much to the 70.3 world champs, because 70.3 world champs going super hard on a strong uphill doesn't affect the run as much. But let's not forget, this is an Ironman event. It's 180 kilometers after the 3.8k swim, and then mix it up with a flat but still kind of hot, to be honest, it is hot there, hot run, you can really blow up. So you got to be a strong cyclist, you got to be strong up those hills. 5 watts per kilogram shouldn't be a problem at all. And then downhill, technically very strong, very fast. Then you have a good shot at being the world champ. Then we haven't seen it this year, and the last years, especially last 5 years, aerodynamics play a key role in iron distance racing. But to be honest, in France, a little bit less so, because aerodynamics matter especially over 35 kilometers per hour. And you're going to be doing a lot of climbing. Even Cameron Worth, who's one of the best cyclists, he did a 4:32 over there, which is a little bit slower than 40 kilometer average, but that's not super fast anymore. Maybe they do it by now in 4:20, maybe that would be really pushing it. 4:25 would be a great time on that course. I'm not sure if they can do it, we'll see. But yeah, I think people are gonna be spending less time in the wind tunnel, because in Nice it doesn't matter as much. They might go more for like saving some kind of weight on the bike, as I did in Nice. That might matter a little bit, few percentage, but I think you just still got to be strong as a bull and tackle those hills, be able to really push those hills without affecting your marathon after 20 kilometers onwards. That's it, little summary. Remember, Kona is not gone. Don't cry, you can still qualify for Kona, you can still fulfill your dream. It's just going to be every 2 years, a little bit different. It might be better for bringing people in the sport. If you have, for example, local kids in France now, or in other races where it might be, maybe again in Europe, you have the local ones that see the world champs, see the pros running, the big hype, and that brings in more people in the sport. In Kona, I believe there are not many kids watching, so you don't inspire too many people there. Yeah, so let's see what the future brings. It's going to be exciting. I hope you enjoyed this little update. Hit the subscribe button if you liked it. It's going to be more of this coming, and my journey towards pro triathlon, because I want to be in the mix there. That's a challenge for me as well, because I'm going to be around 82 kilo race weight. But I do believe I'm a pretty strong cyclist. I've been cycling for over 10 years in the Swiss mountains. I know mountain passes, I know the technical ability, and I'm really excited to hopefully be there as well. But let's see what 2023 brings. And I'll see you next week. Bye bye.